And with the feedback from these types of user research, we've learned early on that in order to solve this problem, we had to build this full stack solution. It wasn't enough to build a decentralized piece of infrastructure or to build on top of an existing piece of infrastructure such as Ethereum. In fact, we tried that, and we couldn't get the experience to what Kaburu and others expected. And so we built a new open, decentralized, and permissionless platform. And on top of that, we built a mobile application to go with it. And so for the rest of this talk, I'm going to be talking a little bit about both of these pieces of our stack. And I'm going to start with the application. And so we're going to show a quick demo that I recorded earlier today. But before I do that, I wanted to share just a little more context about what went into building this mobile app. So when we interviewed Kaburu and others, it was clear that to meet their needs, we needed to build an experience that was similar to centralized experiences like M-Pesa or PayPal, while still remaining decentralized. And like M-Pesa, they all wanted to send payments to phone numbers, not to complicated public key-based addresses. And like the Tanzanian shilling that they were used to, they wanted the value that they were sending and receiving to always remain stable. And so we worked really, really hard over the past 2 years to make this possible. We built a way to send payments to phone numbers in a fully decentralized way. So you can simply look up people in your contact list. And we built a new Stability protocol that makes it possible to send tokens of stable value, starting with the Celo dollar. So what does it look like? Well, this is it. Here you can see me sending 5 Celo dollars to my co-founder in only a few taps. So he bought me coffee the other day, and then since we started dog fooding the app pretty recently, I wanted to pay him back here. And of course, since it's 2019, of course, we support emojis. Now, other users we interviewed asked us about sending money to people who didn't have the wallet installed. And luckily, since we had a way of verifying phone numbers in a fully decentralized way, we were able to build this into the Celo wallet. So let's see what that looks like. So here I'm sending Satoshi $18 to pay her back for brunch. So I don't know if you know this, but Satoshi is a big brunch fan. And we had avocado toast together, and I'm paying her back. It's San Francisco avocado toast, which is why it costs $18 US. And as you can see, the flow looks very similar to what we saw before. But instead of sending the money to her wallet, we're sending the money to an escrow smart contract. And that smart contract is locked with the hash of her phone number. And so only after she signs up and verifies her phone number can she redeem that money. So let's see what that looks like. So you click on the link that we sent via text message. You install the app. In this case, it was already installed, so I just open it. And then we go through the general onboarding flow. We ask for your phone number so that we can verify it. And then we create a public-private key that we encrypt with the trusted execution environment of your phone. Now, you may have seen an invite code in that text message that I sent Satoshi. And so this is us redeeming the invite code. And I'll talk a little bit more about what this is for. Next, we import our contacts so that we can find other users on the platform. And then we're ready to verify the phone number. And so if this was a centralized service where you had to maybe sign up with WhatsApp or something like that, you'd receive usually a single text message with a 6-digit code from a centralized platform like maybe Twilio. So with Celo, since this is fully decentralized, instead you receive a number of cryptographically signed messages from a bunch of users of the protocol. And the phone can read these text messages automatically with Android, and so you don't have to fiddle around typing them in. And as soon as you've received all 3, and with high probability, you have access to this phone number. And as soon as you do that, we get to the home screen where the payment ends up being credited to your account. So in this case, I'm not Satoshi, so I only got $10, not the full 18, because that wasn't the person that I sent the money to. And so you may have a question around the invite code. We're not trying to create some sort of wall to prevent users from signing up. Instead, we're solving an interesting chicken and egg problem. So in order to verify, you need to pay for gas for the verification operations. But there's money waiting for you that you can only get if you verify. And so how do you reconcile this chicken and egg problem? The solution is the invite code. So we actually encode just a few cents of money in a throwaway private wallet that we send as an invite code. And then the user just types that in, understanding invite codes as kind of a typical idiom used throughout the internet and on mobile apps. And they don't have to be the wiser that that contains just a few cents that they can use to pay for gas to verify their phone number. As soon as they're verified, they can redeem the money that's sitting in escrow for them. So that was the application, but what does a platform that powers this look like? So to solve the needs of our target users, the platform needs a rich ecosystem of mobile applications solving real users' problems running on top of it, supported by a large community. And to make that possible, we identified 3 properties that the platform must have. So 1, it has to be open. Celo's mission is extremely ambitious, and we need as many people as possible from around the world to contribute to this for us to have a chance of success. And for this reason, Celo is fully open source, and there's lots of ways to get involved, and we'll talk more about those at the end of the talk. Second, it needs to be programmable. Our target users need a rich ecosystem of financial services. Things like DeFi services such as peer-to-peer lending or savings circle dApps. And so to support such services, Celo is fully programmable. And finally, it needs to be mobile first. So of the 1.7 billion people without access to bank accounts, more than half of them have mobile phones, and that number keeps growing. Celo is built with these often resource-constrained phones in mind. And so to deliver on these properties, the Celo platform has a lot of new and innovative features. I'm going to highlight 7 of them here. First, to be useful as a means of payment, we talked about this a little bit, and to be as reliable and safe as a store of value as possible, Celo users need access to stable value assets. And so to that end, the Celo platform has a stability protocol for creating multiple stable value currencies, all backed by a single reserve. So we're starting with the US dollar, but the protocol supports multiple currencies that the community can launch after mainnet, such as ones pegged to local fiat. And because these currencies are similar to ERC20 tokens, they can be fully programmable. You can exchange them on decentralized exchanges, such as the Uniswap exchange that's built into the core stability protocol. Now, to make it easy to send payments to phone numbers, Celo has a lightweight identity protocol. This maps hashes of phone numbers to public keys, and it's a fully decentralized PKI that makes it easy for users to find each other and transact securely. And so that was the reason why I was able to really easily, just by looking through my contact list, be able to find Rene and send a payment to him. Now, inspired by Tezos, Celo has full on-chain governance. So every Celo Gold holder, which is Celo's native currency, can have a say in the future evolution of the protocol. All upgrades to the protocol will only be possible through governance, starting on day 1 of network launch, not at some point in the future. Now, this is live even today on our public testnet. And then to achieve low latency with one-block finalities, Celo uses a decentralized proof-of-stake protocol that elects 100 validators and then uses PBFT for consensus. So if you're familiar with Cosmos, this is very similar to Cosmos and Tendermint. Now, as I mentioned before, Celo is fully programmable, and we chose to build on top of one of the community's best pieces of work, Ethereum. So this means that Celo is fully EVM compatible. So we expect that the best user experiences built on top of Celo will leverage some of Celo's unique features. But you can still run all of your existing dApps and your favorite Solidity applications today on top of Celo, right from the get-go. Now, and the last two really get me excited, both of which came out of really extensive user research in the field. So Celo lets you pay for your transaction fees in multiple currencies, including Celo's ERC20 like stablecoins. So this means if you want to send a stablecoin to someone, you can pay for that transaction fee using that actual currency that you're sending. Now, intuitively, this makes using the protocol so much easier for people. And finally, while Celo has made many novel technical contributions to the field, we think that this one is going to be the biggest. Since Celo's target users are frequently data constrained, we worked really hard to build a like client protocol that's both fully censorship resistant but also extremely lightweight. So in most protocols such as Ethereum or Bitcoin, like clients have to download every header since the start of the network to obtain the last Merkle root commitment that lets them perform Merkle proofs of any data that they fetch from full nodes. Now, this takes a lot of time and a lot of data, especially for blockchains with low latencies, and thus with many blocks. And so Celo addresses this in three ways. So first, Celo's proof-of-stake protocol validator set changes can only happen once a day. And since it's possible to validate a header, if you know the current set of validators, all you need to do is fetch the last header of each day from the Genesis block and the last header and the current header to quickly sync. Now, to lower the size of each of these headers, Celo goes beyond what's common in things like Tezos and Cosmos by using BLS signatures to aggregate all of the signatures into one very short single signature per header. So that makes our header sizes very compact. And finally, since we want to do even better than that, Celo uses BLS 12377, the BLS 12377 curve, in which can be really efficiently executed inside a zero-knowledge proof. And so this means that with full nodes, we can build efficient and succinct zero-knowledge proofs that can prove an instance of a like client sync, allowing for like clients to consume these proofs, often just a few kilobytes in size, to quickly sync. This last part is still work in progress, but we're almost done. So all of these amazing features are live today on Celo's public testnet, dubbed Alfajores, which is a delicious cookie from South America introduced to us by one of our early supporters in Argentina. And if you're interested in playing around with our alpha version of our app, you can receive your own invite code just by going to celo.org/app. It's available for Android today, and we're working hard on an iOS version that is coming soon. Now, if you want to learn more about the protocol, I'd encourage you to check out our docs website at docs.celo.org. We have a lot more details about the protocol, as well as getting started guides. If you're interested in setting up a validator or a full node, we have extensive instructions that help you get set up. And somewhat interestingly, under Celo, even full nodes can earn rewards because they receive transaction fees that like clients for forwarding the transactions that like clients make through those full nodes. And finally, since Celo is fully open source, if you're interested in digging into the code or just want to support us by starring one of our two main repos, please visit us at github.com/celo-org. And if you're interested in helping out with our documentation or any open issues, Celo is an open protocol, and we look forward to working together to building a monetary system that creates the conditions for prosperity for all. So with that, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to join us on your Friday night. And yeah, I look forward to any questions.
Yeah, thanks. Guys, if you want to ask a question, you need to grab the mic and so that everyone can hear. Anyone has a question? Or maybe I can start. So I have a few, but maybe I'll. So you said there will be stable coins on. Also, is everything's going to be on chain, or that's the first question? And the stable coins, are they going to be like fiat collateralized, crypto collateralized? Like how do you envision this thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Celo uses a hybrid of the best of two protocols, Maker, DAI, and what Basis was looking to accomplish using their seigniorage shares model. And so we use a seigniorage shares model with Celo Gold, our native currency, as the seigniorage token. But we also diversify our reserve by trading up to half of that to other crypto assets, being kind of collateralized with other assets. So it's not fiat backed, it's fully programmable, it's fully decentralized. And the protocol works like the following. So if demand for Celo dollars goes up, then in order to keep the price stable, we need to print more Celo dollars. And so the protocol first obtains the price through an oracle, and if the price is higher than $1, then it will try to create new Celo dollars. And the way that it does that is by creating an arbitrage opportunity for anybody who wants to make money by buying Celo dollars for $1 on chain through a Uniswap style exchange, and then selling it for more than $1 on a centralized exchange. And so there's a very tight arbitrage opportunity that's very similar to the way that fiat-backed currencies are kept stable. Typically what happens is if the price goes up, people can buy the fiat-backed currencies directly from the issuer for $1 and then sell them for more than $1. Now, in those cases, typically you have to pay with wire transfers, and that can take quite a long time. And so one of the nice things about Celo is that you can complete that arbitrage cycle pretty quickly because you're buying Celo dollars with Celo Gold using a Uniswap exchange on chain. So it's very fast. Now, I think the interesting thing happens when the price goes below $1. I think it's easy to print a lot of money and it's harder to contract. And so because all of that gold that's used to buy those newly minted dollars gets locked up in a reserve and then diversified to other crypto assets, this reserve is over-collateralized and always there to buy back any dollars should there be a contraction. And the way that that works, it's very similar. So someone who wants to make money off of the arbitrage opportunity can simply buy Celo dollars on an exchange for less than $1 and then redeem them for $1 through the Uniswap exchange. And they can complete that cycle arbitrarily until the price is stabilized.
So the native currency is Celo Gold. And,
exactly.
Could you tell us a little bit of how you see or you plan the distribution of, like initial distribution of money, or like the gold native currency?
Yeah, so because it's a proof of stake protocol, there's ways to earn rewards through participating in consensus. And so one of the ways that the currency will be distributed is through what we are calling epoch rewards that are offered both to validators and to people who secure the network by electing these validators, by locking up some stake and then using that weight of that stake to vote for the top 100 validators. So that's one way. Another way is just running a full node. So as I mentioned before, you can earn cryptocurrency just by running a full node. And so that means that you don't need to own any Celo Gold in order to start earning currency, you can just fire up a full node and you'll start earning a portion of the transaction fees that like clients are paying as they're transacting. And so this is important because it's, as we've seen in other blockchains, if you have a lot of like clients connecting to the network, frequently what happens is there's not enough full nodes to service them. And so under Celo, we incentivize these full nodes to spin up so that they can service these like clients. And that's really appealing because one of the really nice things about proof of work chains is that you just have to turn it on and it starts earning you rewards. And most proof of stake chains don't have the same benefit. And so this is one way where we've been able to bring that back. And then finally, we saw the text messages coming in to verify new users. There are also rewards for sending those text messages. And we're really excited by this because we're working hard to make it possible for anyone with just an Android phone to be able to install a special Celo rewards app that can send text messages and verify users as they sign up fully automatically. It just sits in your pocket. It doesn't need to, you don't need to actively be looking at it. And in so doing, you can earn some rewards for helping secure the network and help verify new users signing up.
Yeah. What is the strategy for building communities in these places that don't have access to banks?
That's a great question. So we have a go-to-market team that is headed by the former country director of Give Directly in Kenya, who was running one of the biggest cash transfer universal basic income pilots in the world. And so he, along with a fairly sizable team, has been working hard to build partners on the ground at a number of target countries where we think Celo could provide some real value. So there'll be more news on that soon, but we have a big effort underway.
I'm not quite thought through this, but maybe you've already answered it or not. But I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out and learn. But how are you going to sustain this? Like how, since it's it's open source, like you're going to incentivize the people to maintain the infrastructure, I guess. But how are you going to get enough people to be part of the community, to support this, and to sustain it for the long time? Because there's lots of options, and there's lots of talent going to different places. So how is this going to be sustainable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we hope that it will attract a big community in part because of how easy it is to use and how important it is in so many places around the world where people do not have access to financial services. And so if that mission resonates with folks, I encourage you to join our community. We have, as I mentioned, everything is open source, so you can easily look at our GitHub issues, submit a pull request, update our documentation, and also, if you're interested in doing something more involved, we have a Celo fellowship program, which allows you to do a part-time project with us over the course of a couple of months to half a year. And we've had a number of really successful fellowships in the past, everything from community building on the ground in target markets to cryptography and zero-knowledge proof-based fellowships. We're well-funded. We're funded by both Polychain and Andreessen, and we continue to invest in the protocol.
We have a question from our live stream. Andrei Gulnev is asking, how is privacy of users ensured, especially with regards to the recent data leaks?
Very good question. So at Celo, we're committed to preserve people's privacy. And not at launch, but shortly after, we plan to upgrade the protocol with the community's involvement to support fully anonymous transactions. So we're working with a lot of former Zcash employees, as well as Ron Tromer, who's one of the Zcash founders. Him and I overlapped together at MIT while I was doing my PhD there. And we're working really hard to be able to provide fully anonymous transactions with an anonymity pool that spans different token types. We think that this is really important to grow the anonymity set. And so the idea is that any ERC20-like token should be able to relatively easily hook into this infrastructure to add shielded transactions with a existing pool of existing anonymity pool across different token types.
So it looks like you are looking at the best practices from all different cryptocurrencies and combining in this project. That's very interesting. Do you have any idea of like how you're gonna, why would people start using it as money in comparison to Bitcoin, which has like 66% of market cap and network effect? So like the chicken and the egg problem, as you said, why would people start using something that no one is using?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Bitcoin has a great purpose. It's a store of value. I think it's exceptionally good at that. In fact, we plan on having it in our reserve to back our stablecoin. And in that way, we don't think we're competitive to Bitcoin at all. I think what we expect and hope is that people who want to use crypto as a means of payment would be interested in using Celo versus Bitcoin, which hasn't really been designed with being useful as a means of payment in mind.
So what happens when a user lost his cell phone and forgotten his password at the same time?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we chose to make Celo support full self-custody. So everyone is responsible for their own funds. And we think that this is important to be truly universally accessible by everyone. Obviously, that does mean that people have to manage their keys well. And so right now, we follow the best practices of encouraging people to back up their seed phrases, and we limit the ability to use the app if they haven't done that. But longer term, we are looking at some interesting new operator-style models where you can entrust a third party to act as a sort of guardian to your funds. And because Celo is fully programmable, it's actually quite easy to do that with a smart contract. And so you can create multiple types of relationships with such guardians pretty easily. I think a common one that people know and understand is one where you have a daily spend limit, maybe $100. And if you want to spend more money, then you have to go and ask this third party to also validate us or to also sign a transaction for you. And then if you were to lose your account, then you could also entrust this third party to recover the funds for you into a new account that you can create. Maybe with some 24-hour latency so that if for whatever reason you no longer trusted them, you would always have some sort of warning if they ever started to move your funds to someone else's account.
So what happens if someone steals my phone or like the SIM swap, so someone controls my phone number?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think crucially, your money is never actually secured with your phone number. It's always secured with your private key, and your private key is always encrypted with the trusted execution environment of your phone. So this makes it quite difficult, even if you steal someone's phone, to actually get at your private key. Now, if someone were to swim swap you, it's true that they could perhaps verify a new wallet with your phone number. But at that point, there will be two wallets verified to one phone number, and anyone sending money to that phone number would be asked which account would they like to send the money to, and it would be relatively easy for them to go and check with the intended recipient which one is the correct wallet.
Here's another question from the stream. It's probably which countries are you going to be targeting first? Like, what you see, is it Africa? Because you started with a story from Africa, and what are you targeting? Canada in any way? Do you see people using Celo in the West?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we haven't fully finalized the list of countries that we're going to target initially, but we have been doing user research across many continents, including Africa. As I mentioned, we went to Tanzania on the invitation of the UN World Food Programme, but we also went to Kenya, and we're working with Give Directly in Western Africa, and we're also looking at parts of South America and Asia. I think in Canada, I think I can probably safely say that there isn't much need for a kind of Venmo-like cryptocurrency. There's already great options for sending money. There's Interact here. It's pretty easy to transfer funds around. So we're not particularly targeting Canada, though if someone wanted to do remittance payments back to their home country, then Celo could be quite useful in that capacity. I think where Canadians do come are interesting for Celo is in the community. So again, to be able to succeed here, we need to build a big community, and we need help from everyone to run validators, to run full nodes, and to help contribute to the whole ecosystem. And so if you're interested, definitely come visit us on Celo.org. There's lots of ways to get involved.
Question?
Is it possible now to create a token and send it with the gas fees in that token?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to our, if you go to celo.org/app, you'll be presented with this screen. You can type in your phone number and get a text message to your phone with an invitation code and a link to the wallet in the Play Store. You'll also receive, I believe, 10 Celo dollars after you sign up through the escrow smart contract. And you can use those straight away to invite your friends, to transact with people that you know, and all of those transactions will be paid for using the token.
Who decides, like, I'm familiar with Waves, and on Waves, if you create a token, you actually can allow users to pay transaction fees with that token. However, you as an issuer pay the transaction fee in native currency. Is it like this similar, or why would I, as a validator, accept some random token as a transaction fee?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we don't do it that way. Instead, we maintain multiple mempools for each token. And the tokens that are supported are actually supported through governance. And so there is a list of valid tokens that you can use for paying for gas. And through Onchain Governance, you can vote for new token types to be added to this list. We think that most validators will simply accept these currencies because it's very easy for them to then swap it for any currency of their choice using our Uniswap on-chain exchanges. And we're even looking at ways of making that automatic for them.
Let me check if we have anything online. No. So if Do you guys have questions? So I guess if
There was
no
one more, I think.
Yeah.
How did you arrive at the name Celo?
At the name, Celo, yeah, that's a great question. So Celo means purpose in Esperanto. Esperanto is a constructed international language that we thought was a fitting choice for naming our protocol after. And of course, the word purpose meant a lot to us.
Any more questions? Well, if not, then we can wrap up the official part, but we're still here for the networking, and you can just ask questions in private.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the great presentation.